You are listening to the Faces for the Future podcast, a podcast dedicated to exploring the stories of young creatives. My name is Jacob Deere. I'm a documentary photographer, publisher, and visual artist, and I'm going to be sitting down with creators to listen to their inspiration, interests, and process, hearing the lessons they have learned and how they broke out of the mold. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well, and welcome back to the Faces for the Future podcast. We're on episode 3 now, and I am lucky enough to be joined by a fellow photographer, a very talented photographer in this episode. Her name is Libby Smith. She's working on a project called Bristol After Dark, which was recently exhibited at the Time to Engage exhibition here in Highbridge at the King Alfreds School. The exhibition was curated by myself and ran through Coverless, and Libby's work was truly phenomenal on the wall, and I look forward to her talking about the work and also describing the processes that she took to get where she is now. Yeah. Have I frozen?
That works. You're not frozen.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Oh, you are frozen? Oh, don't worry about it.
Have I frozen again? Oh, no.
It might be mine. It's okay.
I got like fingerprints all over my glasses, and also my dog's barking like crazy as well.
Oh,
Does he not understand what podcasting is?
God, it's so selfish.
So selfish. I might build like a soundproof box at some point.
I know. I'm in Patrick's room right now because like my room is so like it's right on the outside, so it's really loud.
Oh, I see. That's the only problem with all it. I noticed actually when I was doing it with Jake a few days ago, he was sat outside, and it was like you could hear the birds tweeting, and it was actually kind of cool in a weird roundabout way.
At the moment, it's insane.
I know. How's everything with you, especially with?
I'm good. Yeah, not too bad. Just bored.
I was gonna say it must be strange.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird, like not seeing friends and stuff, but it's alright. I'm still not doing my uni work, but
well, you know, we can sum it up to stressful times.
Yes. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright. It's been a bit of a weird couple of weeks, to be honest with you. Yeah, with surgery and obviously now being in a lockdown as such, it is a bit strange. But I'm doing well. I'm much better now. I've started the podcast. Good.
Yeah, I guess it's something to keep you occupied, right?
100%. You just have to keep yourself.
I can imagine you're going insane.
Oh, don't. It's the worst. Like I wouldn't mind being in lockdown if I was like 100% healthy and like I could run and do all of those things. But I'm getting there though. I'm probably I don't know, about 2 weeks away from being back to somewhat normality. So that's something to be excited about. Yeah,
I still have your book, by the way.
Pardon?
I still have your book, by the way.
Oh yeah, I forgot. What isn't it like Bad Tourist? I can't even remember. Yeah. It's a cool book, isn't it?
It's such a cool book. I took it up to Bristol with me when you gave it to me, and just like showed all of my friends, like look at all these bad tourists. Like they loved it. I don't think they were as interested as I was, but
no. It's weird because like when I first read that book, it made me think of Burnham, and you know
Oh God. It does.
It is, and I bought the book when I was still living in Cheltenham, so it's this weird paradox. Did it help at all with your project?
Well, it's not necessarily related to my project, but like the style of photography was something I really liked and something I looked at. But it doesn't really matter anymore because I have to change my project.
Oh no! How come?
Well, because I can't do any of it.
Oh yeah, true.
We've only got a month left.
Have you not got enough work now just to put something together?
See, that's the thing. I've got a lot of work, but I think they want us to adapt it to like the situation. So I've been trying to do like stuff from home as well. How like rave culture is still thriving while everyone's at home.
Yeah, well, everyone's having lounge raves.
Like live streams and stuff, taking pictures of those.
That's cool.
But yeah.
No, well, that's the thing is, when was the last time I saw you? I think it was Time to Engage was the last time that I actually saw you in person. And we had a bit of a chat then about sort of yourself going forward with how you wanted to do Bristol After Dark. And it's interesting, actually. I suppose that this lockdown has caused you to sort of think around the problem.
It's interesting because obviously I was doing this new project, which was an extension, and I'm still going to do that project, but it's not the one I want to do now. Like, I do want to document Bristol nightlife, but obviously now's not really the time to do it. So instead, I've kind of changed it to look at how people were kind of using rave to cope, type thing. You know, like people were still listening to music, producing music, kind of having like online parties and stuff to kind of keep it going.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of I've noticed, especially on Facebook, there's a lot of these like watch parties, isn't there, where you can you can all sort of watch the same thing or hop in a live stream, and it actually, I think it almost has created a stronger culture by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's a way of keeping it together. Like, it's like raving but without the raves, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, how like the community and the subculture are still kind of staying together, but through online.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I got from the work that yourself has made. It seems like there's a real sort of what's the word? There's quite a sense of community between you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Which you don't really see very often, actually.
Yeah, and it's still there. It's just long distance. It's something that obviously I want to document. I was thinking about just like using my photos I've created so far before this, but then I thought, like, why not document this? It's like a huge thing. Why just like ignore it and then carry on when it's over? Like,
yeah, it almost
kind of remember it.
Yeah, it almost makes sense to make something from it, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And just like include it in my work, like, even though it's kind of stopped rave, it's still very important. And yeah.
I think the thing with it is, for me, when I first saw the work, so if, the people that are watching and listening, the project's called Bristol After Dark. Is it still called Bristol After Dark?
No, well, that was my kind of first part of the project, Bristol After Dark.
Yeah.
And then my second part, which is what the project I was doing after that was called Ears to the Ground. But I've changed that to The Show Must Go On, because obviously it's
nice. Yeah, that's a really nice title. I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
No, it's cool. Well, the thing with it is, like, when you showed me Bristol After Dark, you were coming off the back of sort of doing a lot of portraiture with animals, which was when you first showed it to me, I thought, Libby, what are you doing? Like, your dog portraits are so cool. Like, they're literally like this Renaissance painting of a poodle, and then you show me pictures of like empty beer cans in a warehouse in Bristol, and I'm like, Libby, where are you going with this, mate?
I'm so indecisive, and like my teachers say that they're like, why have you gone from taking photos of dogs to taking photos of like warehouse parties? And I'm just like, I still have no idea what my style is.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying everything that I'm interested in.
100%.
Actually, I really do like where this project is going and want to continue doing nightlife. But no, I did like the dog project.
Honestly, the dogs, if you guys want to see, we'll get to all of those projects a little bit later, but they're all on Libby's Instagram, which is My Favourite Days.
Yes.
Please go over and check out the dog portraits, and also Bristol After Dark. They're both fantastic. But when I was doing a bit of looking into your both of your projects before this podcast, because I wanted to do a bit of research, double check I had everything right this time.
No.
I noticed that you're saying about it, that you're still trying to find your style. I think you found it with the images that you're making, with the flash, with the darkness in both of them, and you could almost argue you could twist the dog portraits into the Bristol After Dark project. They're very similar stylistically in some context.
Yeah, I think obviously they're very different in the way that one of them's studio and one of them's environmental, but it's still, I get what you mean. I'm still using the flash and stuff like that, especially with the rave project. I think that kind of is something that makes it so much better and like kind of represents the energy quite well, like a harsh flash.
And sort of obviously flash photography, to not use those subgenres, it's sort of had a comeback recently in a few years, hasn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
And
But sorry, the people I was researching for this project was kind of like the old school subculture photographers like Chris Killip and people like that kind of all used harsh flash. So that's what I'm basing my work off pretty much. But yeah, I think it is definitely coming back as well, especially with things such as raves and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that the accessibility to these sort of cheap 35mm point and shoot cameras now, especially myself being quite the collector. Libby's seen the collection of cheap charity shop cameras I've got. I'm very happy with them. They're so easy to use and pocketable. I think it's almost a reflection of the phone in that sense, like how the phone is so easy to use and pocketable these days.
Yeah, they've definitely kind of come full circle. I think they went out for a bit when digital came back in. But yeah, they're just so easy. Like when I went to the last festival I went to, my friends all had one to kind of capture it rather than take them on their phones.
Yeah, definitely. And that sort of incorporates that sort of element of community then, I suppose.
Yeah, and I was the only one that didn't have one. I was like, I'm the one with the photography qualifications.
Yeah, but sometimes we all need to take a break. I took a break for nearly a year, so I know the feeling.
Get lazy, don't you? Run out of ideas.
You do run out of ideas sometimes.
Especially now.
Yeah, like I went for a walk earlier actually today. The first time that, because I can't run, I'm an avid runner as I've spoke to Libby multiple times about before in the past. Because I can't run at the moment, I'm trying to walk as much as I can. And I sort of went on a walk this morning down a trail that I'd never even noticed was near my house. I took a camera with me. Of course, it was a cheap 35mm point and shoot, but it was 100. I wouldn't take anything else. And it was so refreshing just walking along and just listening and just capturing off of nothing but pure emotion and how I was feeling on that walk. And I
think that's the way to do it.
100%. And I think I feel that sort of emotion coming through in your work, especially the most recent stuff.
Yeah, well, definitely. I've always been like that as well. Like obviously the dog project was very planned, but other work I've done, especially this stuff I've been doing, it's not planned at all. I usually just take my camera just because, and then I end up creating some amazing pictures. And half the time it's just me holding my camera in the air, not even looking, just snapping. But it works. I like that approach.
It's so abstract, it's really interesting because I come from, my work I see as quite uniform, and I try and take every approach in some context to make everything fit nicely within one single frame. And then I look at Libby's work and it's like, fuck all that, I'm going to throw that out the window and I'm just going to take pictures.
Your work is amazing. It's just a different style, isn't it?
Thank you. It's far too kind.
Everyone has a different style.
Yeah.
I don't know if mine's a good thing. I don't even look at the photos when I take them half the time.
But then that creates much more of you're capturing much more of what's actually going on because you're not focusing on the camera.
Mm-hmm. Especially with that work, trying to make it uniform probably isn't a good representation of the subculture. No. Personally, I've never been to a rave in a warehouse. It's not quite my scene. You can always catch me at a coffee shop somewhere, normally drinking espresso. But for me, being an outsider looking into the work, it really sort of encapsulates what being in that rave, in that moment, sort of would feel like, or what I think I would feel like. Good. That's what I wanted. I wanted people that haven't experienced it to kind of get a positive representation of it, as well as the people that are in it to kind of also think that, also see that it's being represented well. Yeah,
definitely. And I think the processes that you yourself must have gone through to get to that point. I saw bits of different elements of the work from start to middle to end, or towards the end. And it was really interesting to see how the work developed in the style, but also the context.
Yeah. It's definitely, the whole style has changed now, though, now that I've been doing this from home.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I'm still quite happy with how it's going.
I think it could easily be, pulled together as a zine or a small run of books, whatever it might be. It could definitely be pulled together in some way with the work, the work that you photographed in the warehouses, and the stuff that you're doing now could definitely be pulled together.
That's definitely something I want to carry on. Like, I'm putting kind of that part of it on pause and then picking it back up, because
we're having Wi-Fi problems.
I know that once we're kind of out of lockdown and stuff.
Here we go. Internet issues. Oh, we've got a poor connection bar. Can you still hear me, Libby?
What's happened?
Wait, you're back. No, you're not.
I'm just going to say you have been frozen this whole time, so if I'm not...
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Is it working?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Hopefully I'm unfrozen now. I probably still am.
You've been frozen this whole time. I was just saying, if I'm not making eye contact or anything, I literally can't see you.
Or maybe I'm not frozen, I'm just very good at sitting very still.
Maybe you're just very, very still and holding your hand up this whole time. I like it.
I might have to practice that for the next podcast. Just be a statue throughout. But
just start like pranking people so they don't feel like glitching out.
Oh, it would be so funny. But no, I think, speaking of sort of standing still, of course, being in a rave, you can't, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that creates a different sort of movement to the
very
image.
Hard to.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, definitely once lockdown's kind of lifted and stuff, I'm gonna pick that all back up, because obviously there's lots of plans for big parties and stuff.
Yeah,
that
of course.
I'd have to photograph because it'd be amazing. But yeah, for now, like just at home, I'm just taking pictures of like musical equipment and kind of objects from raves that I've collected, and then like live streams as well.
Yeah, that's a nice combination.
Completely different aesthetic, but I think it still represents it quite well.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you're staying true to the story that you're wanting to tell, then that's what really matters. It doesn't overly matter in the context right now. I've been doing a lot of thinking about Treasure Island, the book, the project that I've just worked on, and I'm at a stage where I've made a book now. Obviously, it's not been published or anything, and I want to continue the work in some context, but I'm not sure how to go about it, whether to actually keep shooting or to re-edit the book. And I think I'm starting to come to a conclusion that it's more about the context in the way that we showcase the work in some sense.
Yeah.
That is actually a stronger than the reason why we made it, if that makes... I'm not too sure. I'm still battling with this thing in my head, as you can tell.
No, I think that makes sense. So you think how you want to continue it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, especially once this lockdown's over,
definitely.
I'd like to take more trips back out to Port Talbot at some point later this year would be nice. I think I may be doing another exhibition over there. That's still a little bit of a secret. I suppose I just teased that then. So awesome. I think the idea is to do something like that, and then also I might be doing an exhibition in Cardiff as well. But I feel like I could do much more with the work than what I've done.
Yeah, well, I mean, projects, especially like that one, I think they can sometimes take years and years until they're finished. It's just like you can keep adding to it whenever you want, and creating new pictures and stuff, trying out different ways of presenting it, like books and galleries and stuff.
100%. I think, I don't know if you're the same, but most of my projects are personal in some context.
Yeah.
And I think there's almost an element of not wanting to let go of it yet because it's so personal to me.
Yeah, it's like your baby.
Yeah, 100%.
That's definitely like me with the rave stuff, because obviously it's like, it's not just a representation of that, it's like a documentation of me in my 20s.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Yeah, like a little diary for myself, like I can look back on. So I don't think I'm gonna kind of stop capturing it until I've actually grown up.
Well, when do we ever grow up, I suppose?
That's true.
Yeah. No, and I think that's interesting that you say that there's obviously a lot of personal ties for yourself in Bristol After Dark. Bristol After Dark. Bad. B-A-D, let's hyphenate it.
Bad. I like
bad. In what context? God, this podcast took a turn for. Anyways, yeah, we'll stay PG, stay one side of the line. Yeah, and I think, you know, speaking to other photographers, you know, I was speaking with Jake Beckett the other day, and you know, other individuals. I think personal ties to projects make them so much stronger.
Yeah, definitely. I think all the projects that I've seen from famous photographers, the personal ones are always the best ones, like Nan Golden and people like that. Like it's super raw and real, and you can feel like how connected they are to it. So yeah, that's something I want from my own work.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think, speaking of sort of like Nan Golding, do you think there's this, it's weird to say, but, you know, this generation now is much more in touch with its emotions, and it's not scared to voice them in some context?
Yeah.
Do you think,
I think that's true.
Do you think that sort of the work of like Nan Golding that was, I think, 80s? Was it 80s?
Yeah, I think it was 80s.
You know, because that work would have been so suppressed in the 1980s. Do you think that's why it's come round and being so well received again, you know, in this day and age?
I think the reason it got so big in the first place is because people didn't talk about that stuff, like about kind of drug addiction and like abuse and all the stuff she spoke about. And now it's kind of aged so well, and society's matured, and people kind of respect that she was so open about it, and now everyone's open about it. So, like, more open. And yeah, I think it's still just as powerful. But yeah, definitely.
I think it's potentially even more powerful this day and age than what it was then. And I see sort of what you were just saying then about sort of the personal aspects and that element of yourself, because obviously when I first met you, it was a little while ago. It was actually shooting Faces for the Future, I believe. I
think so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we met through social media, as everybody does these days.
I actually can't remember when the first time we met was, but
I know that we shot. So for everybody listening and watching, Libby was actually in the original Faces for the Future. There she is. The original Faces for the Future project that I shot in 2018, I think it was. Yeah. During the summer that year, and I ended up using an image of Libby and also another chap called Ellis Robinson for a street art exhibition called Bozfest in 2018. And by the way, you're still standing on the street. You're still there, Libby. I've put more work up since then, and that's all gone, but you're still standing strong. And, you know, when I met you, you're in a completely sort of different place to where you are right now.
Oh God, yeah.
And you can see, especially, you know, as I've known you for a little bit, I've seen the development of your work going from almost being locked into taking images of Burnham and the surrounding area to slowly getting further afield and discovering new interests and new passions.
I guess it reflects me and me over the past 2 years and the changes and stuff.
Definitely. Well, you've been through a hell of a change, and it's great to see yourself come out the other side much stronger. And also much more open with telling your story.
Thank you.
Sounds like
I definitely prefer my work now from, you know, 100 sunsets.
Actually, I was scrolling through your Instagram earlier, double checking I had my facts right. I was like, God, Libby really likes sunsets.
It's so great. If you scroll through my Instagram, you could like tell where the like little change was, because it's just sunsets, and then it's just rave.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. I love it.
And I think that's nice to see, though, is like, you know, myself with social media, I normally remove old images, I take them away, keep a fresh rotation as often as possible, but yourself just leaves those older images up. And I think that's really, really interesting, especially for somebody like myself who can go back through and have a look at what you used to make and now what you make.
Yeah, I like to keep it up and kind of look at how, because I think I've had that Instagram for maybe 3 years or something. And just the stark like changes and stuff. It's interesting. I wonder if it'll change anymore.
I have no doubts that it will.
I'll start doing something like really weird next, like completely different.
If you start doing like, you know, landscape Ansel Adams stuff, I'm going to be like, Libby, are you okay? What's going on?
Start doing like wedding photography.
Oh yeah, you just completely change up genres, go in a completely new direction.
I think that's all I'm ever going to do. I don't think I can settle on it.
Really? You just wanted to sort of keep going about and figuring stuff out?
Do it, everything.
So you're still on your BA?
Yeah.
I've
got 1 month left.
Really? Are you thinking about any what you're going to do after this?
Education wise, I'm not sure. I think next, or as soon as lockdown's lifted, I'm planning to move to Bristol with one of my friends, and I don't know, just take it from there, see if I can get some work in photography, but if not, just chill. But yeah, I'm not sure education wise. Keep producing work.
I think for yourself, of what I've seen, do you think you produce sort of better work when you're being pushed by an education, or are you sort of more slow, methodical? I
think I'm not sure, because I guess most of the work I've ever produced has been for like sixth form or college or uni, so it'll be interesting to see like how it changes when I'm finished, because obviously it's not even a month, it's like 3 weeks now.
Wow, really not long.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether I kind of keep it up, but obviously I'll keep it up to see like whether the pattern changes, or I think honestly I'd enjoy taking photos more when I don't have to.
Really?
That makes sense. Like it gets to the point sometimes where I'm doing a project for uni and it gets really hard because I know I have to do it.
The pressure's
like,
almost
in a time frame, and I just like get blocked and I run out of ideas. Whereas I think if I'm not doing it for anyone but myself, I think I'd create better pictures.
Yeah, I think the pressure can be a bit overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah. Especially with like what I'm taking photos of like rave stuff. You kind of got to be careful what you take photos of as well.
Yeah, I've always wanted to ask yourself, not to go off on a tangent, but it must be quite difficult because I'm sure there's certain scenarios and scenes that might happen during these raves.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of interesting pictures of that kind of thing, but it's always a bit of a kind of weird risk with uni, like putting it into my work or like exhibiting it with the uni, because they don't really want to not be associated with it, but they're just a bit weird about it, which is understandable. But
yeah,
when I'm making it myself, I can kind of have that freedom to really capture the rave scene, which is the one thing that's annoying me, because like obviously I don't want to create a project about rave and it's all like drugs and stuff like that, but again it is part of it and like a part of what people do there, and something I don't want to kind of avoid.
Yeah, it must be this conflict of interest almost.
Yeah, definitely.
Because yourself obviously is so into these rave scenes and going to these raves, but you don't want to portray it necessarily as a negative.
Yeah, and I think so. I think so far I've done a good job at doing that, just focusing on the people and the kind of sense of expression that comes with this music and these environments and stuff. But I do want to represent the whole thing, not just like the good things or the little things.
Yeah, no, of course. Do you think that the university is obviously going to have certain policies? That's sadly how education works. But after that, are you going to try and sort of make images without a censor, or are you going to still try and?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'd quite like to see where it goes if I just capture everything that I can. Without a censor. See,
I really like that idea.
Yeah. Just create some chaotic images. Sorry, Mum and Dad.
I'm sure your dad's lovely. I'm sure he'll be fine with it.
Oh, he'd love it. He said once this is over, I can take him to a rave.
Really?
But that's probably not going to happen.
You should do it. You should fully do it. I'd love to see that. It'd be all over his Twitter, I'm sure of it.
Oh my god. It would.
No, well, I think the thing with it is, like, I have no doubt that the work, whatever it is you make after you finish your BA, is going to still be within the same context and the same quality. And, as I said before, whoever's listening to this, I highly, highly recommend you go check out Libby's work, especially Bristol After Dark. It's a project that when she first showed it to me and I was in the process of putting together Time to Engage, I was like, we've got to get this work in here somewhere. We've got to put this rave culture in a secondary school. Shout out Becky, by the way. Massive shout out to Becky.
The best idea, by the way.
I know. Honestly, without Becky, I don't think we would have got away with it. And the head as well, the head teacher, fantastic guy. But yeah,
with the kids in detention, like in the next room. Did you see that?
It was, well, when I was a little story, when I was putting the exhibition up with George Manship, he was helping me. Yeah. There was 3 kids. There was a class being taught, and then just as we're finishing up, there's 3 kids in detention in the main hall. And me and George sort of stood there and were like, do you remember when we used to do this? And he was like, yeah. I was like, look,
oh my god, you used to get detentions.
Oh yeah, well,
that's terrible.
I only went to C13 a couple of times, and then it was A31, I think it was. I can't remember the new one, but
yeah, I can't remember the new one.
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people are still going in there these days.
Well, not at the moment.
Well, valid, very valid. But yeah, no, it was I was really happy with the exhibition, and your work had some really, really good feedback as well. And
oh yeah, it was so interesting to see how people responded to it, like middle-aged people, and like parents and people like that were kind of looking at my work and being like, oh, we used to do that in the 90s.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you were my teacher.
Yeah, that was the thing as well. It was so well received by the people at school, at King Alfreds, the different teachers and staff. It was so well received. I did have, over the weekend, I was sitting in on the exhibition, and a few times, I'm not going to name names, but a few of the older generation came and saw the work, which was fantastic. But they got round to Libby's work, and they were like, "What? I don't get it." And then I said to him, I was like, yeah. I tried walking him through it. I said, Libby, she's a local photographer. She's really into the rave scene, XYZ. And they were like, yeah, but what's it about? I was like, okay. I was like,
just keep walking around.
I was like, there's some other fantastic work by Jacob Ditton. I'm joking.
Yeah, this is mine.
Yeah. No, but I think that's the whole concept with
Yeah.
your work, especially at the moment. It's very challenging, and I think if you go into that world of no censorship and you just show what you see, it's going to make a really interesting body of work.
Yeah, and interesting responses as well.
100%. And if you need someone to help sort of curate it,
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Well, obviously when this is all over, I'll keep creating work, and I'll send you some.
Yeah, I'd love that. And I really want to work on maybe putting together a bit more of a collective, especially here in Burnham and the surrounding areas. You know, I run Coverless with Mike Bart as well. Libby's met with Mike, and we've always wanted to create much more of a collective. So maybe there's something in that as well. We can try and pull something together.
Yeah, I think this is a very good start, the podcast.
I hope so. Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. It's had a good response so far.
Yeah. Have you got a few people joining you?
Yeah, the list, I've got a whiteboard just over my right shoulder, and we've got 11 episodes scheduled so far. So
nice.
We've got a fair amount of people coming on the podcast, which should be good fun.
Is it all local?
Yeah, all Burnham, or involved in something with regards to the local area. So
yeah, we could all do something together.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe we could do a Faces for the Future meetup or something. I'm not sure. Maybe we could sort something out.
The future rave.
Rave. There we go. Libby's just absolutely nailed it on the head, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the Ritz in 3 weeks.
Let's all go to Spoons.
Oh, don't. I miss Spoons onion rings. God, this has gone off topic.
I miss the chips and gravy.
Chips and gravy?
Have you ever had Wetherspoon's gravy?
No, I haven't. What, is it worth the go?
Yes.
100%. Do you fancy I need to get a Wetherspoons after this. We need to go get a Wetherspoons.
Definitely.
That'd be a good idea.
Wetherspoons lunch.
Oh, don't. I'm gonna get so overweight after this. It's not gonna be good.
Oh my god, I'm doing it now. Like, there's nothing to do except eat.
Oh, tell me about it. I've been trying to work out. But every time I get to about it's about nearly 3:30 now, and I'm thinking, cup of coffee and a biscuit. I don't. I've bought so much coffee recently. God, we've gone so off on a tangent.
We always talk about coffee.
I know. Well, come on, it wouldn't be us if it wasn't. So, where can everyone find your work? Obviously, with your social medias and stuff.
So yeah, there's my Instagram. That's my favorite days, but it's a bit. I haven't uploaded in a while. I'm currently in the process of creating like an online gallery, for this project. But this is more the kind of lockdown one. Yep. I might create another one with just like the rave photos from the past few months.
Yeah.
And I can always, if I do, I'll put that on my Instagram as well. I'll put the link on.
Perfect.
So people can have a look at that.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it's just Instagram really.
Cool. So that's my favourite days on Instagram. Make sure you go check out Libby's work. Thank you for being on episode 3.
Thank you.
No, it's good
Thank you for having me.
Oh well, it's good to have you on and actually be able to sit down and really talk with yourself again.
Yes, it's a shame I can like see you the whole time.
You just see a frozen version of me.
Oh wow.
Well,
yeah, thank you.
Of course, and if there's anything I can help with up and coming projects, or anything that I can share and put out through Faces for the Future, please by all means send it my way and I'll share it out.
I will do.
Cool. Well,
we'll have that Wetherspoons food, and I'll give you your book back.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. We will sort that out very soon.
Okay, it was nice to speak to you.
No, it was great to speak to you too. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. So that's it for episode 3 of the Faces for the Future podcast. I want to send an absolutely massive thank you to Libby for being on this episode. She shared some amazing stories from her work, from Bristol After Dark, and also what she plans to do with it in the future. If you can make sure you go follow her on Instagram and like some of her pictures, that'd be fantastic. That's My Favorite Days on Instagram. And if you could do the same with the Faces for the Future on Instagram, that's FFTF Podcast on Instagram. That would be absolutely amazing. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching and or listening to this podcast, whether that's on Instagram TV, Spotify and Anchor, and we will be back very, very soon. Thank you guys.